They're talking about the NFL from a different perspective. Game recaps, stats, big plays, predictions, and much more. You're listening to the B&E Podcast with Ed Donaldson and Brandon Simpson.
We're already a month into the season. We'll be discussing which teams have stood out so far and who's the biggest disappointment, while also previewing the upcoming Week 4 games and talking about the Thursday night football game last night. But first, let's get started with the opening drive.
Giants wide receiver Sterling Shepard tore his ACL. He's going to be out for the rest of the season. Chargers Joey Bosa has been placed on injured reserve for groin injury. Chargers say he may return during the season, however. The mayor of Tampa Bay says the game for the Bucs and Chiefs is scheduled to remain in Tampa Bay. If they do have to relocate, the game would be played in Minnesota. Tua Tagovailoa was carted off the field after taking a nasty sack. Reports that he was released from the hospital and traveled back with the team. The NFL is still doing an investigation onto the concussion protocol.
All right, so the Bengals, they beat the Dolphins last night 27-15. They're now 2-2. T. Higgins has 7 receptions for 124 yards and a touchdown. Joe Burrow was only sacked one time last night. That's a rare occurrence for him. Give me your thoughts on the game, Ed.
Yeah, man, this game was this is the first time I actually got to see the Dolphins like prime time. So just focus on that game. I knew their offense was like high power, but actually to see it in person, live action and stuff, I was really impressed with how Tua looked in that first half. You know, he did throw that interception when he threw a deep ball kind of late, but he was getting a ball out quick. I think they were saying like he was getting a ball out in like under 3 seconds, like 2.5 seconds. They were just moving the ball and the defense looked good. I thought before he took that hit, I thought this was going to be a really good game that went down to the wire. But, you know, he took that sack and unfortunately he had that nasty reaction and he had to get carted off the field.
Yep.
Then Teddy Bridgewater came in. He actually did a good job when he first came in. He led them on a scoring drive. McDaniels, he had a great play call on the goal line. He had a shovel pass to Chase Edmonds. That was a really nice play. I was like, okay, maybe they'll keep it close. But second half came out. I really think that injury did take something out of Miami. They kept showing a damn replay of Tua and his fingers and his how reacting. So I was like, damn, how many times are you gonna show this shit, man? Exactly. They showed it like 3 or 4 times. Like, we get it already.
Yep.
That was kind of weird to me. But yeah, I think that injury took a little bit out of the Dolphins in the second half, and Beagles were able to capitalize. Xavier Howard, the starting quarterback, he went out. It looked like groin injury. Yeah. It looked like he had the duty to cover T. Higgins, and I guess they were just going to play like double team, triple team, just make sure Jamar Chase wasn't going to beat him. But once he went out, that the game plan kind of got ruined. T. Higgins did his thing. Then Jamar Chase late in the game had a big play, and you know, the Bengals did their thing. They were 0-2, but I was thinking like I honestly I'm not too concerned about them being 0-2. I think they will make things right, and they did. Now they're 2-2. So shout out to the Bengals, and you know, hopefully Tua, he can recover. I don't know if he'll be able to play the next week. I mean, he might have to take a couple games off. But yeah, people were outraged because the way how the last game looked, where he was stumbling around. So I think this is going to be a big topic going forward. And just him and player safety overall. But yeah, what about you? How do you feel about this game?
Absolutely. I feel the same way as far as the injury goes. We wish him a speedy recovery. Want to see him get back on the field ASAP, especially the way he's kind of flipped the switch this year. You know, we saw that firsthand against Baltimore. As a Ravens fan, we saw how he can throw the ball up there and those guys can catch it. But doesn't it pay to have a good kicker? I mean, it was only 4 points difference in the game. The guy down there in Miami, Jason Sanders, he missed the field goal and the extra point.
Yeah.
I thought about you when it hit the crossbar on that extra point, I believe it was the doink from week 1 you was talking about with all those kickers. So yeah, that'll be something to watch if you're a Miami fan. And then on the other side of the field, the targets that Joe Burrow and company have. I mean, we see I generally myself think about Chase and Boyd, and then like last night, like you said, T. Higgins goes off. And I remember the commentators was like, well, was it Tyler Boyd? He hadn't had a catch. And I want to say it was either second quarter or early third quarter, something like that. And they was like, you know, we'll know that it's in the game plan to get him going soon. And he still finished with, he finished only 2 receptions for 47 yards, but he really didn't have to do much because Chase and Higgins got it done. And that's the thing about this Cincinnati offense. You get one part or one guy shut down, you still got to worry about the two. And then former Raven Hayden Hurst came in there and he had a touchdown and a couple big catches. So yeah. And another thing, like, I don't know if you saw, like, Tyreek Hill was talking smack in a sense before the game. He called out Eli Apple, said he couldn't wait to go against them, called him a baby and stuff on Twitter. But Eli Apple and company got the last laugh with the win. So not the team that I want to see in week 5, but we host the Bengals at M&T Bank Stadium in a couple weeks. And of course, they get 3 extra days to prepare for that. And they're coming off of a very impressive win against an undefeated team. So again, this is not the team I want to see in a couple weeks. Miami, they'll travel to the Jets in week 5. So I did pick Cincinnati, so I feel good with my pick. But again, I don't want to see Cincinnati in a couple weeks. So it's kind of like, I'm kind of like toss up right now how I feel about this game.
Yeah, that's going to be a good matchup. Speaking of Tyreek, he apparently, I guess a Bengals coach said something to him during the game, because I saw something. He was like, he said he got disrespected by a Bengals coach and he's looking for him to have a mano conversation.
Wow,
so
I missed that.
Yeah.
Okay, but to watch that.
Yeah, I didn't see anything on the game when it happened, but I saw an article about it this morning. Him talking about that. Yeah,
True.
So guess it'll be a little rivalry between Tyreek and the Bengals going forward.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So first game of Sunday is going to be across the pond as the Vikings take on the Saints. It's going to be an early game, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Hope I can wake up for that. Jameis Winston has missed consecutive days of practice, so we're not sure if he's playing. He's going to be questionable. I believe he said Mike Thomas is out, and Jarvis Landry, he's also questionable too of an ankle injury. So how do you feel about this game?
Yeah, just set your alarm for about 7:00. You know, those London games start slow. Generally, they kind of be sloppy too. Sometimes it'd be rainy over there and all types of elements. You won't miss much. But yeah, this New Orleans defense, I'm kind of torn on this game because New Orleans defense, they've given up 2 100-yard rushers this year alone when they didn't give up any at all last year. And we know what Dalvin Cook is capable of for the Vikings. So it'll be interesting to see how they approach this game. I'm also looking for a bounce back game from Justin Jefferson. He only had 3 receptions for 14 yards last week against Detroit. But this Minnesota defense has been a liability as well. They've given up the 3rd most yardage in the league. So with this, Jameis Winston and Mike Thomas being out, you know, I guess you could say, like, I know you feel Justin Fields is a total different comparison, but Justin in year 2, you say you still don't trust him yet or whatever. I kind of feel the same way with Jameis Winston after all these years. I'm not necessarily, you know, on his team, or I guess you say on his bandwagon or anything like that. I think he has an arm and everything, but we saw what happened with them last year without him out. So yeah, we'll see how they do, you know, whether it's Taysom Hill or if it's somebody else. You know, I can't remember who the 3rd quarterback is down there.
Andy Dalton.
Oh God. Yeah, start just okay. Let me call Dennis Allen. Start Taysom Hill. Okay. Andy Dalton can get it done, but he's also a liability as well. They both throw interceptions. I would just give it to Taysom Hill, just say run. Plain and simple. But that's another thing I was going to hit on. Kamara has only he only has 100 yards rushing in total this year so far in 3 games. So they definitely need to get the ball going with him. And this should help with that. You know, they generally kind of change the offense when they're down the quarterback, Winston, and when Taysom Hill is in there. So hopefully they'll get the ball running on the ground and make up for it. But yeah, how you feeling about this?
I'm leaning toward the Vikings. Like you said, the Saints defense, particularly the rushing defense, hasn't been really effective. I think Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison, his backup, should both have decent games. And I like Jameis, but I trust Kirk a little bit more than Jameis right now, just because Jameis is dealing with some injuries. And then if he doesn't play, Mike Thomas is out, Jarvis Landry's injured. I know Olave, I think he got rookie of the month or rookie of the week or something at least. Yep. But I think the Vikings will have more weapons. So I'm going with the Vikings in this one. I think Kirk Cousins and company will have one of those games where Kirk looks like, oh wow, this team might be for real. He'll probably have one of those type of games. And then the next couple of weeks he'll go down back to regular Kirk Cousins.
One step forward, two steps back with him.
Yeah,
well, 3 or 4 actually, but still.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm leaning towards the Vikings in this game. Hopefully it's a good high scoring game, pretty action. I know NFL wants to show out London just to get more exposure and maybe broaden their franchises out there. We'll see. But yeah, I'm leaning to the Vikings in this one. All right, so the Jaguars will travel to Philly to take on the Eagles. You know, last week Eagles beat the living hell out of the Commanders, and they are a 6.5-point favorite in this game going forward. What do you think of this game, Brandon? How do you think this will turn out, Jaguars and Eagles?
I know I'm kind of a Jaguars bandwagon jumper this year since the offseason, but I'm kind of leaning towards the Jags to pull off an upset in this game. You got Doug Peterson going back to Philly. It'll be the first time he faced his former team since he left there. Mm-hmm. He got fired. He led them to a Super Bowl win. So obviously that'll be a factor of how the crowd receives him and how they, try to heckle him during the game. Eagles fans are not going to let off the gas pedal in this game. But yeah, the Jags, they're clicking on all cylinders. They went out to the West Coast last week and beat the Chargers and beat them soundly, outscoring their opponents 84-38. I think Trevor Lawrence, he's only thrown 1 interception. He's only been sacked 2 times this year. That's pretty good. But on both of these teams are stacked, you know what I'm saying? At least, as far as how they're doing this year. But Philly, if you're a stats person, they're ranked number 1 in overall offense, 3rd in passing, which generally, I talked about their run game all year and, all off season when we've been talking how they've averaged about 200 yards on the ground most of their games last year. To think that they're top 5 in passing and they're not in that category rushing right now, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of like Baltimore's offense. Like we're really good in the pass game right now, but not in the run. But anyway, number 5 in overall defense. That defense has been lighting people up. I mean, obviously they had a field day with y'all last week, and second in the league with sacks. But they got both of them against y'all. They had 9 last week, 3 going into the game. So yeah, will this Jaguars offensive line hold up to this pass rush that's coming off of they're sitting there licking their chops right now, thinking that they're on top of the world. Yeah, the offense. Philly's offense can still score in the nick of the dime as well. So I'm leaning towards the Jags in this game. Wouldn't be surprised if Philly improves to 4-0. They are at home, but with Jacksonville going out to the Chargers last week and beating them, I think that was a statement game. Even though, you could say Justin Herbert was banged up and everything. It wasn't 100%. It's still an impressive win. You don't see very many times where those East Coast teams go west and vice versa and pull out a impressive win. They might be a close game, but it's rare that they do that. So this could go either way, but I'm leaning towards Jacksonville.
I'm kind of with you. I've been leaning towards Jacksonville all this week too, as I looked at this game. But I'm still gonna give the Eagles an edge. I'm just gonna give them the home court advantage or home field advantage. But I do like what I'm seeing from the Jaguars. I just don't know how the hell Washington beat them the first week. Now that I'm looking for this, that's another discussion for another day. Let me get back to this.
Yep.
But you mentioned the Eagles defense. I think that D-line, they're going to have a good test going against the Jaguars O-line and Trevor Lawrence. I think he's going to make sure he gets the ball out of his hand quickly. He's got weapons, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, the backfield. James Robinson has been doing his thing. I'm interested to see if the Eagles will be able to contain him and Travis Etienne. On the defensive side of the ball, the Jaguars defense, they ain't too bad either. The rookie Trayvon Walker, we'll see if he has a coming up party like Aiden Hutchinson and the Eagles had against Washington. I keep bringing him up, God damn it. But there's another rookie the Jaguars got. He was actually I think he was rookie of the week or rookie of the month. A linebacker named Devin Lloyd. He currently leads the team in tackles and he's
out of Georgia.
Interceptions. Yes, thank you. He's had interceptions in back-to-back weeks, so we'll probably hear his name a lot. But I'm still gonna give the Eagles the nod just because it's home field. Jalen Hurts has looked amazing so far. I think he'll continue to play well. I don't think he'll make too many mistakes. So I'm gonna give the Eagles a slight edge. I think I'm gonna give them. I would say 23-20 Eagles, but I hope the Jaguars win. I really do.
Yeah. You could tell he's an NFC East fan, everyone.
Yeah. Clearly.
A Commanders fan for sure. But
For
yeah,
now.
it's looking like the Chiefs will still travel to Tampa Bay for Sunday Night Football at Raymond James Stadium. Mike Evans, he's coming back from a 1-game suspension after his fight night over there in New Orleans. Tampa Bay, they'll look to get their offense going. They've only had 3 touchdowns in their first 3 games. I'm thinking, this obviously has a couple storylines. Again, we have Mike Evans coming back. We have this Tampa Bay offense not doing too much. They're starting very slow in a lot of their games. But I think the biggest one of all is the rematch of Super Bowl 55. I mean, Tampa just had a beat down of Kansas City in that game, and they kind of exposed Kansas City and kind of set the tone for them last year early on for the Chiefs, where, they weren't being able to stop people defensively. The line was still getting together on and on, but they've fixed things since then. They rank number 7 in offense right now. Mahomes is having a Mahomes type season, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. Yeah. This will be his toughest matchup of the year. We talk about this Tampa Bay defense ranked number 4 in NFL, only giving up 9 points per game right now. So Tampa Bay, they had a close game last week. They were possibly a delay a game away from tying it up and going to overtime and possibly winning. Who knows what would have happened there. But, Brady has been under duress. He's had 6 sacks all year. So, there's Kansas City and Chris Jones and company. Will they turn the table? I'm thinking they will. I got Kansas City going into Tampa and pulling out a win. I think Tampa has started really slow. And if you do that against Kansas City on the right day, you end up losing. Even though Kansas City looked a little confused last week. I know you mentioned I think the sideline discussion or argument with B&E and Mahomes. Like I said, I think they'll brush that under the table. We probably won't hear about that again. And Kansas City will be right back to, I'm sure, Mahomes was getting into those guys or at least, being detailed in practice all week. B&E and Andy Reid have made their adjustments. And I'm pretty sure that this Kansas City team will come out focused in their second straight road game and pull out a win.
This game is kind of a toss-up to me, man. Because as you mentioned, that Bucs defense has been looking great. So I really think they're gonna keep the Chiefs under control. Like Kelsey, I don't think he'll have a big game. And the other guys, Juju Smith-Schuster, Scantling, Sky Moore, McCole Hartman, somebody else is going to have to do something. Maybe Mahomes does something with his legs. The Chiefs running game hasn't been really too impressive. I think last game or one of the games, Mahomes is the leading rusher and he only had like 30 yards rushing, something crazy like that.
Yep.
So I'm leaning toward the Bucs right now.
Okay.
Brady, I don't want to say he has Mahomes' number, but I think he likes those type of matchups where, it's 2 marquee quarterbacks. He likes to be the guy to like, okay, he's a up and coming, he's a hot shot, but I'm Tom Brady. And I think he's gonna, play up to those standards. Sunday night game, big lights. Yep. He always comes to show out. So I just can't, bet against him right now. But as you said, the offense for Tampa Bay has been miserable. Mike Evans is coming back, so that'll make things better. They signed Cole Beasley last week.
I was going to say his name.
Yeah, they signed him last
week.
Yeah, exactly. He had a couple catches. I don't know if he'll be much of a factor since he's still, getting used to the team. Maybe down the line he'll do some more things. But I think that Bucs defense is going to be after Mahomes all day. I think they're going to be the main reason the Bucs should win this game. Also, then we talked about this last week that linebacker for the Chiefs, Willie Gay, he's suspended for a few games. So I wonder how that's going to impact the Chiefs defense.
True.
Leonard Fournette running the ball and catching the ball in the backfield. I think he's going to be like a battering ram, slow that defense and tire them out. They'll run off of him a lot, throw it to him a little bit, and eventually the Bucs will win the game. That's how I'm feeling right now, though.
Yeah, but if Chris Jones get going, look out, man. Because I had to put some respect on his name last year. I knew about him for sure, but when they talked about the difference between, I think Steve Spagnuolo had him more on the outside trying to rush as an edge rusher, and then they moved him back inside in his home position. And when that started happening, he was lights out, and he had a couple sacks a couple weeks ago, I believe week 2. So definitely that Tampa Bay defense overall is a whole lot better than Kansas City's. So Mahomes will be under duress. But the thing about Mahomes is you can sit back and have 2-3 guys in his face, and he's going to get a sidearm throw, or somebody's going to end up coming open. Kelsey's going to have his day. So
yeah,
it's going to be a good game for sure.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We will see. All right, so Monday Night Football, we got the Rams going to San Fran to take on the 49ers. San Fran is a 1.5-point favorite in this game, but the Niners are 6-0 in the regular season lately against the Rams. This is a rematch. In the playoffs last year, the Rams were able to finally get the monkey off the back and beat the Niners. And Garoppolo is playing against them. Garoppolo seems to be a Rams killer, so I don't know. I'm leaning towards the Rams right now. I just think I like Aaron Donald a lot. Trent Williams is out. I think that O-line is going to have an effect. Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd coming off the edge. Man, Deebo Samuel hasn't – I mean, they're using him, but he hasn't had one of those games like one of those Deebo games where he had last year. He was a first-team All-Pro. I haven't seen that yet in the Rams defense. Jalen Ramsey, I don't know if he's going to be covering him the whole game or if they're going to put him on Ayuk. We'll see how that goes. But I'm leaning to the Rams right now. I think Allen Robinson is going to get more and more involved in the offense. And, Cooper Kupp, he'll do his thing as well. I'm going to go with the Rams in this one. What about you? How are you feeling about this game?
Yeah, you mentioned Deebo Samuel. I think it's time to start to get him, back going again on San Fran's side of things. But San Fran, I also think about they come in number 2 ranked defense. I think about D'Amico Ryans, defensive coordinator.
Right.
He should definitely be in consideration for head coach. And I know it's kind of early in the season, but he should definitely be in consideration again if he's willing to go. I know last year he didn't want to go, but again, that's another story for another day. But they're definitely doing their thing out there, those guys in San Fran. I'm leaning towards San Fran. I don't know who I'm going to pick at this time. I'm still kind of undecided. I want to go with the Rams. They're kind of starting to get their mojo back. They won 2 straight games, but Stafford has been turning over the ball a lot this year, and his offensive line hasn't been helping either. I mean, he's been sacked 9 times as well. The run game hasn't really been going, but of course, Cooper Kupp has done and continues to do his thing. So we talk about San Fran. They've had their number over the Rams in the regular season. You mentioned 6 straight. I think it's 4-7, 7-4 overall, I believe, including the playoffs last year over them, besides the fact that the Rams won. So I think this is since Santa Clara Monday night game. I think last year they played in prime time and they came out and ran the hell out of the ball in that game, if I'm not mistaken. And they pulled that W out. So I'm leaning towards San Fran, but still a little bit up in the air on this game.
Yeah. And San Fran's, I think they got more injuries or people on the injury report than the Rams. So I wonder if they'll be healthy going into this game. Like guys like George Kittle and stuff. He came back last week. See how he'll get going as well.
All right. So the Bills will travel to Baltimore on Sunday afternoon. Potential MVP candidates Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen will both look to improve to 3-1. Of course, I'm a homer, so I'm going to pick my Ravens. I think that last time we played them was up in Buffalo in the playoffs. It's kind of the weather kind of favored to them in that game. Tucker missed 2 field goals. LJ got injured, but it's supposed to be a little bit of rainy game in Baltimore this weekend. So hopefully that'll play to our favor. I think we have the better running game, even though it hasn't really showed up so far this year, besides Lamar Jackson. So Lamar had an impressive September, 10 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Hopefully he keeps that going in October, the first week in October. But our offensive line needs to get better, man. I mean, I know like week 1, I think I said that it looked like 5 Alejandro Villanueva's out there in the run game, just couldn't do nothing. I mean, he was terrible in the pass game, but my damn boy. I'm so damn glad he gone. I mean, it's just we don't have any push this year. I mean, Lamar is getting out. He's had 2 straight 100-yard rushing games, but most of that yardage came on 2 or 3 big plays where he's had to escape out of the pocket. It wasn't design runs. It was him under duress. So, our running backs barely have over 100 yards combined. I mean, literally, they're just over 100 yards. The defense, we need to buckle that. I've never seen us ranked number 32, everyone. We are ranked the number 32 overall defense. I've seen us be bad at the pass last year and years before, but we've never given up this many yardage. So we definitely got, and it doesn't get any better with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs coming to town, McKenzie and those guys.
Yeah.
So I hope that Marcus Williams can get his hand on the ball, hopefully with the rain and stuff. He's leading the league in interceptions right now. So we'll see how it goes. How do you feel about this game?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think both quarterbacks are going to put their imprint on this game. But like as you just mentioned, the Ravens defense being last ranked, I don't know, man. That secondary, they got lit up against the Dolphins. Yeah. And you got Stephon Diggs, McKenzie, Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox. I don't know, man. I think Josh Allen will he'll have plays where he'll get out the pocket, just kind of like Lamar, but he'll have plays where he'll get out the pocket. He'll either run for and gas you for a big gain or find somebody, extend the play, find somebody, Stephon Diggs, Devin Singletary out the backfield. And I think he'll have some more big plays than Lamar. And I'm leaning toward the Bills right now. I got to see, because they were banged up. They were banged up last week against Miami
very
too.
Much.
Jordan Poyer didn't play. A couple of guys on the D-line didn't play or left the game.
It definitely showed in all the mechanics as well.
Yeah.
Very uncharacteristic game. Their time management and everything was just off in that game.
Right.
But we'll see how they come back with the injuries. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I know Josh Allen is looking to come back for the better performance. He underthrew that last ball to potentially tie the game. So I know that is eating at him. He wants to get that pass and get that monkey off his back and come out and play better. So I'm leaning towards the Bills right now, but I think it's going to be a high scoring game, like 34-31, 35-30 type of deal.
Okay.
But I just don't know if the Baltimore defense will make enough plays to stop the Bills. So I'm leaning toward the Bills right now.
All right. So Washington, they're going down to Jerry World for the first time as the Commanders to take on their heated rival, Dallas Cowboys. Dallas is a 3-point favorite. How about this one, Ed?
I like one of my boys I work with, he says all the time, man, I'm just watching football. That's what I'm doing. I'm just watching football. I ain't, they probably going to make Cooper Rush look like Troy Aikman. Bart Starr or somebody. Man, I don't know what's going on with Washington right now. I'm really concerned, man. I think Micah Parsons might do what Aiden Hutchinson did, what the Eagles D-line did, get like 3 sacks as records. I hope they game plan a lot for this dude, but I just don't know. I can see also CeeDee Lamb. He kind of warmed up at the second half of that game against the Giants. I think he might have that same type of performance against us. And then you got Zeke and Tony Pollard. I think they finally figured out a good balance and a 1-2 punch between them. And, Washington, that last game, the last 2 games, the first half, we getting outscored in the first half, like 40 plus points to 0, man. We can't start so bad and then think the second half we can just flip a switch and turn it around. We got to have a complete game, and just it hasn't happened yet. The first game, maybe it was a fluke. In these other games, maybe, I don't know, man. It's not looking good right now. Everybody, Stephen A., he was like, when he was predicting the games, he's like, yeah, this is a bye week for the Cowboys, basically. I was like, oh my God. Damn. But he got a point because we have not played well. But we got so many weapons, man. McLaurin, I think we need to feed McLaurin. I like Curtis Samuel, but we need to get McLaurin going early and often. Mm-hmm. And we just haven't been doing that yet. So I just don't know, man. If the line of scrimmage, both sides of the ball, offensive line, defensive line can play well, then we got a chance. But the O-line, since the center went out last week, Chase Roulier, I don't know. Sam Cosme, he was a little banged up. He went in and out of the game last week. We gonna need people to step up and play better. Coaches, you gotta make better decisions. You can't be thinking about was it a catch or not. Throw the challenge flag too late. Jack Del Rio got to get that defense going, man. But I just don't know. I guess they're only a 3.5 point favorite because Cooper Rush is the quarterback and they're not Dak. I don't know. I thought they would be a bigger point spread favorite, but I think the Cowboys should win this one. But Washington, man, they whooped us. They beat the hell out of us 2 times in a row last year, and especially that second game. I'm hoping y'all still remember that and come out with some fire, but I don't see it happening. I think Cowboys will win this one easily, like 23-10, something like that. Yeah. Blech.
Very
Let's look.
passionate.
What do you think, Brandon? How you feel about this one?
Yeah, very passionate there. This could be a long day for y'all. This
Yeah.
could be a very long day. Michael Parsons, what he's capable of doing on the defensive side of the ball. And of course, your offensive line, you talked about it, 9 sacks last week. Dallas, of course, is number 1 in the league with 13 sacks overall. I think the best bet for y'all is trying to establish the rushing game. Get Gibson and McKissick going. And they haven't had much going all year, but hopefully, y'all tend to start off slow. I think y'all were shut out in the first half of 2 of the games so far this year. You only scored 3 points in the first half of the opener. And then last week, y'all didn't get on the board to the fourth quarter. Like you mentioned, the defender of the week you was going to give to the Washington, was it the Washington offense? I think whatever
defense,
it was.
Washington defense getting safety.
Yeah. Because, that was just terrible. But it is a divisional game, so it can go. Strange things happen, divisional games. So we'll see how that goes. But Cooper Rush, he's had a very good start, or very good time that he's been thrown into the lineup. But y'all got to keep an eye out for Turpin and Noah Brown. These guys just came out of nowhere, and I'm just starting to hear their names.
I'm sure Turpin will get a kicking or return a kick for a touchdown. I'm sure he will.
And Tony Pollard too. I think they really need to, if Dallas wants to really put this game away early, they need to run the ball with him. I mean, Zeke is doing his thing, but I think they tend to play a lot better when they give the ball to Tony Pollard as opposed to Zeke Elliott. So I'm leaning towards the Cowboys, but I wouldn't be surprised this game if y'all go down there and win. They will be very tough, but I wouldn't be surprised just because it is divisional game.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, but I ain't expecting much. Let's get to some of these other games on the schedule. We got the Bears at the Giants. Both of these teams are 2-1. See how that goes. Seahawks will be taking on the Lions. Jets are going to the Steelers. Titans will be at the Colts. Chargers are at the Texans. Browns are at the Falcons. Cardinals are at the Panthers. Broncos are at the Raiders. And the Patriots will be going against the Packers. Which one of these games will you be keeping an eye on, Brandon?
I got 2 of them I'm keeping my eye on, and you actually set them back to back. I'm going with the Titans and the Colts, and the Chargers at Texans. Titans and the Colts, they're playing each other, big AFC South matchup there in Indianapolis. Both of them are coming off of wins. The Colts' win was more impressive when they beat Kansas City, but the Titans, to beat the Raiders with the targets that the Raiders had, that is very impressive too, even though the Raiders they look like trash right now.
Yeah.
So who will keep it going between those 2 teams? These are 2 teams that were in the top of their division last year. Titans ruled the AFC the last couple of years, but right now they don't really look that good. And who will the loser be on the outside looking in come January? Because we got Jacksonville right now leading their division. Depending on what happens Sunday, they'll still be in first place in the AFC South. So will this loser potentially in the first week of October, sounds crazy, kind of be on the outskirts? And then Chargers and Texans. I think the Texans could possibly pull off an upset at home. They're still they came close to doing it week 1 against Indianapolis. They played decent all year. They played the Broncos pretty well.
Yeah.
So I think that this game could be a lot closer than some people might be predicting, with the Chargers coming in there with that high-powered offense that they potentially have against that Texans defense and Lovie Smith. What about you?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Bears and the Giants. Both of these teams are 2-1. I want to see Bears got like the number 1 rushing attack and the number 32 ranked passing attack. So they're going to be running the ball heavily. I'm trying to see, are the Giants a fluke, or is it just like their schedule? They got 2 teams that they're able to beat, and then they finally went against a good team in the Cowboys and looked like they weren't that good at all. So I'm going to see if the first 2 games were just because their strength of schedule, the teams are relatively weak, or was last week just a side mistake, and will they come back and get the win against the Bears? I'm leaning towards the Bears though. The second game I'm looking at is the Broncos and the Raiders. The Raiders are 0-3. If they go down to 0-4, I don't know if they'll be able to recover from that. And the Broncos, they're 2-1, but the offense, the whole team, just hasn't really played how I thought they would play. They hired somebody to help with game management. So maybe, this will be their second week. They hired them last week. So this will be going to the second week. Maybe that'll help Hackett and the rest of the coaching staff out. But yeah, I'm looking at the Broncos, Raiders, and the Bears, Giants. Those are two games I'm going to keep my eyes on. I'm also going to keep my eyes on the Browns and Falcons game because I got Kyle Pitts in like 3 of my fantasy leagues. And I need him to like do his thing. I picked him like second overall or my second round pick. I can't look like a clown if he's playing bad. But yeah, those are the teams I'm looking out right now.
Got you. All right. So we are officially a month into the new season. Which team or teams have been the biggest surprise and the biggest disappointment for you, Ed?
The biggest surprise so far to me, honestly, has been the Chicago Bears. I told you I'm not really sold on Justin Fields, and he hasn't played well at all, especially last week and the first week where it was like the damn monsoon game. But
yeah, and
they've been winning in spite of him. Last week, Khalil Herbert had a great game. He was an offensive player of the week. I think you had him as your did we both have him? I know you certainly had him as your offensive player.
You was looking at him though for sure too.
Yeah. So I'm really surprised by the Bears and their 2-1 start. The biggest disappointment for me is the Raiders. 0-3. Beginning of the season, I predict they'd be right in the mix in the AFC West, but they just haven't looked too good. Devontae Adams, I'm wondering if he's regretting going there or not. But Raiders' biggest disappointment so far, and the Bears are my biggest surprise so far. How about you? Which teams are you looking at?
I'm right on with you with the disappointing team, the Raiders. I mean, I wasn't necessarily on the bandwagon going into the offseason. Yeah. I thought that Josh Jacobs and that offensive line was going to be their biggest issue, and it seems like they kind of are. They're just getting behind in games they can't get back. The defense as well. Didn't trust the defense. I thought that it would have took some time with that offense getting used to the Josh McDaniels system. And, they actually, it's crazy that when they got rid of Chucky last year, that obviously it was during the season, they didn't change the offense. They seemed to look better with that transition than they did from Rich Vascola, I believe his name is, from the interim coach to Josh McDaniels and company. So, yeah, in a division that everybody hyped up, saying that they was going to do this and do that. And some people had the Raiders really, really high. They haven't done shit, honestly. 0-3, like you said.
Yeah.
So biggest surprise teams, New York Giants, Miami Dolphins. I think nobody predicted the Dolphins would start 3-0. We knew that the Cheetah was going to come down there and broaden things. But, everybody pretty much had question marks with Tua, except for Mike McDaniel and Cheetah himself, it seems like. And then the Giants, every year or every time they get a new coach, we have hope. Giants fans have hope, and they do jack shit for the first year and a half, 2 years. And if the coach lasts through the first year, it's like, okay, well, it comes the next year. We're looking good. We make some offseason acquisitions or whatever, and it still never works. But Dayball seems to have gotten this team with this mentality of, we can be in these games. Outside of the Dallas game in the second half, they kind of really played good all season. They've been challenging people. The defense has stepped up with Wink Martindale there. So yeah, they got the Bears on Sunday, which I think that'll go in their favor. I think that the Giants can win against Justin Fields and company at home in East Rutherford.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, that's a good point. The Dolphins, like I mentioned earlier when we were talking about that Bengals-Dolphins game, that offense was rolling, man. Tua looked real efficient. I remember he had a throw in the first quarter or the first half at least, where he threw it. It wasn't like a long throw. It was like maybe like 15 yards. I think it was to Hayden Hurst, but he threw it over the linebacker, and that really showed off his accuracy, which he's known for. But I was really impressed with him, seeing him like just focus on that one game, seeing how the offense looked. They look really good, like unstoppable almost. So yeah, hopefully Tua can come back sometime this season, because that was a nasty reaction to that hit he took. I don't think that was a dirty hit. I think it was a nasty hit, but I don't think it was dirty.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah,
I think that's old school football, honestly,
Yeah.
in my opinion. That's how they used to play.
So, all right, everyone. That's another episode of the B&E Podcast. We want to thank you for listening to us, and we'll see you next week.
You've been listening to the latest episode of the B&E Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Podcast B&E.